Buckle up, Commanders fans! We have news that's going to shake up the Capitol. First, the star signing that's got our hearts in our mouths. Was it worth the risk or did it backfire on us? Then, the hit that left us seeing stars in the NFC Championship. Was it just a stumble or is it time to rethink everything? And to top it off, the referee who almost handed points to the opponent. Justice or abuse of power? Don't blink, because this is heating up more than an August day in DC. Today, I bring you a topic that's generating a lot of controversy in the league, the situation with Marshawn Latimore. Yes, the same one who arrived with much fanfare but has yet to live up to expectations. Now I ask you, was it a mistake to bring Latimore? Or is there still hope for this cornerback to prove his worth? Let's analyze it. When the Commanders announced the acquisition of Marshawn Latimore, we all thought the same thing. This is a statement of intent. Adam Peters, our general manager, didn't mess around. He sacrificed valuable resources to bring in a cornerback who, in theory, was going to be a wall in our defense. I tell you this, that move put the league on alert. But what happened next? Well, the reality was very different. Latimore arrived with a hamstring injury that kept him off the field for most of the regular season. He only played 2 games. And when he finally returned for the playoffs, he wasn't the player we expected. Against Mike Evans, in the wildcard round, Latimore had an inconsistent performance. Yes, there was a glimmer of hope in the win against the Detroit Lions, but then, in the crucial game against the Eagles, everything fell apart. I'll be honest with you. In that game against the Eagles, Latimore was not only inconsistent but also lost his cool. In the second quarter, he committed a defensive pass interference in the end zone against Devonta Smith and then, to top it off, let his frustration get the better of him and committed an unnecessary roughness penalty. That was unforgivable. A player with his experience and talent cannot afford those mistakes in crucial moments. Now I ask you, was it a lack of discipline or was he simply not at 100% physically? Dan Orlovsky, from ESPN, said it bluntly, this transaction has not gone as the Commanders expected. And, you know what? He's right. Latimore was brought in with a long-term vision, but his production has been disappointing. Sure, there are mitigating circumstances, like his injury, but in the NFL there are no excuses. You are expected to produce, period. And Latimore didn't. Now, the big debate is, should the Commanders consider cutting Latimore to save $18 million in cap space? That would be a bombshell. After all that was invested to bring him in, does it really make sense to cut him so soon? I think not. Yes, his start was disappointing, but there's still time for him to recover and prove his worth. Besides, who is going to fill that void in our cornerback unit? It's not that easy to find a player of his caliber. What I do tell you is that Marshawn Latimore is not a player who gives up easily. This man has the mentality of a champion. He has shown in the past that he can lock down one side of the field, and I'm sure he will use this season as motivation to silence his critics. But will it be enough? Now I ask you, do you trust that Latimore can redeem himself next season? Here's my opinion. Cutting Latimore now would be a mistake. Yes, his first year was disappointing, but there is still room for him to recover and show why he was one of the most talked about acquisitions of the season. We need to give him one more chance, with a full offseason to recover and adapt to Dan Quinn's scheme. But watch out! If he doesn't show improvement next season, then yes, we will have to consider other options. And now, fans, I leave you with this question. Do you think Marshawn Latimore deserves another chance with the Washington Commanders, or should they cut him and look for other options in the market? Now we have to talk about the devastating defeat in the NFC Championship and the reaction of our rookie quarterback, Jayden Daniels. Yes, the same one who led us to a dream season but couldn't prevent the collapse against the Philadelphia Eagles. Now I ask you, was this defeat a reality check or just a bad day at the office? Let's dive into this. The Commanders arrived at the NFC Championship with all the momentum in the world. They had dominated the ball in the first 2 playoff games, but everything fell apart against the Eagles. 4 turnovers, 28 points given away, and a final score of 55-23 that left everyone with a bitter taste in their mouths. I tell you this, it was a hard, very hard blow. Jayden Daniels, our rookie quarterback, couldn't contain his frustration after the game. It just sucks, he said. We all came together. We got to this point, but at the end of the day, we lost. It sucks, but we'll move on. Now I ask you, is this the mentality we need to come back stronger next season? The game started with a promising drive, but a fumble by Diami Brown gave the Eagles a short field and Saquon Barkley didn't forgive. Then, in the first half, another fumble by Jeremy McNichols on the kickoff allowed the Eagles to score another quick touchdown. And that was just the beginning. In the third quarter, with the score 34-23, the Commanders seemed ready to make a comeback. But, surprise! A fumble by Austin Eckler near midfield sealed their fate. I tell you this, the Eagles don't forgive mistakes, and we made them at the worst possible moment. Head coach Dan Quinn didn't mince words. We didn't create opportunities for ourselves and lost 4 balls, which resulted in 28 points for them. That was decisive, he said. But he also acknowledged that the Eagles' defense was key in forcing those errors. Now I ask you, was it a lack of concentration, or are the Eagles simply our kryptonite? Despite the defeat, Jaden Daniels kept his head high. I couldn't be prouder of the guys in the locker room. Year 1, he said. Obviously, it sucks. We'll move on. I tell you this, that mentality is what we need to build a solid future. Daniels showed that he has the character to lead this team, but now the question is, can he learn from this experience and take us further next season? The Eagles have been our Achilles heel this season. In 3 meetings, they forced 10 turnovers from us, while we only took 2 from them. In the other 17 games, we only had 10 turnovers. Now I ask you, what do we need to do to overcome this mental block against the Eagles? Here's my opinion, this defeat hurts, but it doesn't define this team. Jaden Daniels and the Commanders showed that they belong to the elite of the NFC, but the mistakes at the key moment betrayed them. The important thing now is to learn from this experience and come back stronger next season. We can't let the Eagles continue to be our kryptonite. And now, fans, I leave you with this question. Do you think the Commanders can overcome this collapse and come back stronger next season, or do they need to make drastic changes to the team? Now we have to talk about what happened during the game against the Philadelphia Eagles, something that you don't see every day. The referee threatened the Commanders with awarding points to the Eagles if they kept committing penalties on the goal line. Yes, you read that right. Now I ask you, was this a fair decision or an abuse of authority by the referee? Let's analyze it. The key moment occurred when the Eagles were in tush-push formation near the goal line. Commanders linebacker Frankie Louvu tried to anticipate the Eagles' count to stop the play. This, in itself, is not uncommon in the NFL. However, referee Sean Hochley interpreted that the Commanders were intentionally committing penalties to prevent the Eagles from scoring. I tell you this, that's playing defense, right? Hochley explained after the game, simply put, a team cannot commit multiple fouls to prevent the other team from scoring. Louvu jumped before the snap a couple of times. That's when we gave the warning. If it's about preventing a score, we can essentially award the points. Now I ask you, was it really a clearly unfair action as required by the NFL rulebook? According to the NFL rulebook, for Hochley to award points to the Eagles, he had to determine that the Commanders had committed a palpably unfair act. But was that what Louvu did? The linebacker assured after the game that he had no intention of delaying the score, but simply playing defense. I tell you this, it seems Hochley took this very personally. Fortunately, no more penalties were called against Louvu, and the Eagles eventually scored their touchdown. But the referee's threat left a bitter taste in the air. Now I ask you, was this a fair decision or another example of inconsistency in NFL officiating? Hochley also mentioned that the play clock prevents teams from using a hard count too many times. But why wasn't it considered that the Eagles were using this tactic to confuse the Commanders' defense? I tell you this, it seems there was a double standard in this situation. Here's my opinion, Hochley's threat was excessive. Louvu was playing defense, like any player would in that situation. If the Eagles wanted to score, they had to earn those points on the field, not receive them as a gift from the referee. This only fuels fans' frustration with NFL officiating. And now, fans, I leave you with this question. Do you think the referee's threat was justified or was it an abuse of authority? Attention, Washington Commanders fans! Today we reviewed 3 topics that are generating a lot of discussion in our community. First, we talked about Marshawn Latimore and his disappointing first season with the team. Do you think Latimore deserves another chance with the Commanders, or should they cut him and look for other options in the market? This is a debate that divides fans, and we want to know your opinion. Then, we analyzed the collapse in the NFC Championship and Jaden Daniels' reaction. Do you think the Commanders can overcome this defeat and come back stronger next season, or do they need to make drastic changes to the team? This is a crucial moment for the team's future, and your opinions are key to understanding how we can move forward. Finally, we discussed the controversial threat from referee Sean Hochley during the game against the Eagles. Do you think the referee's decision was justified, or was it an abuse of authority? This topic has generated a lot of outrage, and we want to know if you think the officiating was fair or if there was a double standard. Now, fans, it's your turn to be part of this conversation. We want to hear your opinions in the comments. What do you think about these topics? Do you agree with our reflections, or do you have a different perspective? This channel is more than a space for news. It's a community, a family of passionate Commanders fans. If you haven't done so yet, subscribe to the channel and activate the bell to not miss any of our updates. We want you to be part of this great family, and together we will continue to support our team in good times and bad. And remember, hail to the Redskins!